There's no one size fits all, and I want to meet our employee population and our leaders where they are.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Culture Works podcast. I'm Chester Elton. I'm here with my dear friend and co-author, Adrian Gostick. This is the podcast where we talk about culture, and we talk about some really great leaders that get it, as we say, have built great cultures, really understand the importance of people in the workplace. And on that note, Adrian, will you introduce our guest today?
You bet. Today's guest is leading in an industry that's experiencing enormous pressure and opportunity. That's insurance. Chester and I, we've done a lot of work in insurance industries over the years. And Chris Mary leads an organization of 150 employees focused on property and casualty and employee benefits. And he's been navigating restructuring, leadership development, and the integration of HR tech and AI. As if not, you got enough going there, Chris. Chris, welcome to the show today. Our conversation is going to be about putting the right people in the right seats, raising leadership expectations, and using technology wisely without losing culture. We got a lot to cover. We're thrilled to have you here, Chris.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, Chester. Happy to be here. It's an exciting time for us at ECBM. The industry, as you mentioned, is changing quite rapidly. And we really think that our culture has been the catalyst for our success and for our growth over the past few years. So we're excited to navigate the changes and make sure that we're doing all that we can to put our employees in a position where they can succeed and support our clients, and also making sure that we're staying true to ourselves and to our values and our culture.
Excellent. I just want to jump in and say, by the way, if you notice, Chris is in his basement. He and I both live on the East Coast. We got 2 feet of snow over the last 24 hours. So the fact that he MacGyvered this all together so he can be on the podcast, you get bonus points for that, Chris.
Thank
5
you.
stars.
Hopefully there won't be a screaming child that will run in and mess up the recording. Fingers crossed.
Excellent.
Chris, you mentioned that one of your biggest challenges past year when we chatted before was restructuring to get the right people in the right seats. That's kind of hard work strategically and emotionally, especially with a smaller organization that's growing. Walk us through that process.
Yeah, for us, it's all about putting people in the best position to succeed and putting people in the right seats. And that goes with clarity and making sure that we're being clear about our structure as an organization and where we want to take our business. We made some changes, not necessarily because anything was broken per se, but more about we wanted to look ahead and putting our people in a position where they can do their best, not just for today, but for the future. And for us, it's providing clarity about expectation. What should they expect out of our organizational structure? And what should they expect out of their role? And we knew that the opportunity cost of not doing anything would be significant. So we wanted to make that move and really get ahead of the curve and put our employees in the best position to bring their best every day.
Our mentor, Marshall Goldsmith, says, what got you here won't get you there. And that's what great organizations do, right? They don't wait till things break. They're improving as you go. Was that the mindset?
Absolutely. Yes. Like I said, we knew things were changing and they are changing rapidly especially in the insurance space over the past couple of years. And we could sit around and we could wait and be reactive, or we could be proactive. And I think for us, we've had an incredible run. We have some highly tenured employees and leaders. And we wanted to make sure that being mindful of what got us here will not get us to that next horizon. As we're getting beyond that 150 employee mark, we know that we have to scale and we have to put some infrastructure in place to help us get that next horizon of growth. And it's being delivered about what are our expectations for us and making sure that we have accountability for our employees about success.
Yeah. Now, talk to me about how do you maintain morale during all that change? Change is always stressful. We wrote a book, Anxiety at Work, and nothing causes more anxiety than people moving around and stuff. So fill us in.
I think it's a couple of things. One is leading with empathy. That's one of our core values as an organization in terms of how we deal not only with our clients, but with our employees and leaders internally, and having a conversation and helping them understand why we need to make these changes. What's the rationale for that? And bringing them into the process and bringing them into the conversation so they feel like they have some skin in the game and it's not necessarily happening to them, but they have agency and an input in our future direction. And we've had a lot of conversations about what does good look like for us as a company? What does it look like for us as leaders? And really bring people into that discussion and getting their contributions, getting their input has been a game changer for us in terms of addressing some of those anxieties and making sure that they have a clear understanding of what the future looks like and their role in it.
And how do you do that? Is it town hall meetings? Is it Survey Monkey? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I've tried to do a lot of active listening. So we've had some leadership roundtables that I've been doing just to get the voice of our employees. I've been meeting with our leaders collectively as a leadership group. We've had some town hall conversations and also just some selective coaching. There's no one size fits all. And I want to meet our employee population and our leaders where they are. And for some, it's, hey, we need to have a leadership roundtable and get everybody in the room and hash it out. For others, it's, let's have a conversation to understand maybe what's that thing in the back of your mind that's giving you pause or creating some anxiety so we can address it head on and put a plan in place to make you feel comfortable.
Let's talk a little bit more about leadership. Before we jumped on, Chester and I were reminiscing about when we recorded yesterday's USA Canada hockey game and at the
We
Olympics.
returned for Canada, by the way, just so you know.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, not sorry, maybe.
So we were just saying,
you didn't say that quite right. It's sorry. Yeah, sorry.
now Chester and I live in the U.S., but we have roots in Canada, so we want everybody to do well. But now Connor McDavid wears the C on his chest, but he was the captain of the Edmonton Oilers. We were saying when he was 19 years old. Leadership is thrust upon some people at an early age. So let's talk a little bit about leadership. You talked with us about up-leveling expectations of leaders. Basically, look, we expect more than we were a 50-person organization than we do when 150 or we're 300. There are these latter steps you take up. So what exactly are you looking for in leaders that maybe we didn't expect when we were smaller?
Sure. It's a great question. For us, I think it's making sure that we are a living example of our core values and our culture. And particularly as we're growing and scaling, not just being the technical expert or the foremost in the industry or your field, but how do you provide that example and help others grow and develop and truly be exemplars of our company and our culture? That's something that we want to focus on more and more. We're becoming a larger organization. We're getting more layers and more leadership positions. And we're also getting people coming in from other companies because we are growing and we have new leaders, we have new employees. We want to make sure that we're scaling our culture. And part of that success of scaling the culture is making sure that our leaders are bought in and they understand what that means. And the expectations have shifted because of our growth. And that's something that we're really leaning into with that group. And it's been a great conversation so far.
Talk a little bit before we jump into some of the other leadership issues and whatnot. It takes courage to make changes like that. It takes courage to move people around. How are you as a leader empowered by that? Where does that come from? Is it the supportive team? Is it a mandate? Is it after you did the listening? Because change does take courage, even when it's for the best. Where did that come from?
I think we're a family-owned business, and I think that's something that allows us a little bit of latitude because we can do things a little bit differently because of our unique ownership structure. But I also look at it as respect, and I think providing that right structure, providing that clarity of expectation, that clarity of purpose is really showing respect to our employees and to our leaders. To me, it's not really about courage. It's more about being respectful and being loyal to our employees. And I feel like we have that obligation to be clear about what we expect out of them and how we're going to help them get there and coach them to that. So to me, that is the North Star that keeps me focused. I wanted to do right by them and I want to make sure that I'm being loyal to our employees. And to me, that trumps everything at the end of the day.
Yeah. Let me ask you then. So what is your driving purpose? If you were to articulate it for our listeners.
Yeah. But I'd say for us, our business, and you think about insurance, people think about commoditized industry, right? Maybe a little bit boring or corporate, but we are in the people business. We help companies manage risk. And if you think about a mid-size or a small business that has an insurance claim, more often than not, that can be the difference of whether or not they're going to keep their business opening, or if they have a health issue with their employees, healthcare, how personal that is, right? There's a real human-centered issues. And for our employees to support our clients, we need to make sure that we're supporting them and we have that human-centered approach. So to me, it's all about helping to manage that risk and to build that human connection, whether it's externally with our clients or internally to make sure that our employees are in a position where they can support our clients. To me, I feel like that's my driving purpose and something that gets me really excited every day to do my job.
That's awesome.
Level set for just a moment. Tell us, again, midway here or so, tell us the name of the business, where exactly you operate, what your niche is. Give us the 20-second commercial of your business, Chris.
So we are ECBM. So we're a family-owned property, casualty, and employee benefits brokerage. So we focus on, if you think about, as I mentioned, that story about the mid to small to mid-sized business, we help manage risk. And if you think about in this day and age, everything from property claims to cybersecurity, all the bad actors that are out there, some significant challenges that businesses face. And we come up with insurance solutions and support through those challenges. On the flip side, from an employee benefits perspective, this is a very, I can't emphasize enough, a very challenging time for that. Because if you think about the cost from a business perspective, and even from an employee, think about your premium costs, they go up every year. And it's almost like clockwork. We're going to get a double-digit raise every year. And we look at ways that we can help manage that cost and manage that risk for our clients. And especially in the healthcare side, it's a very challenging time, a very costly time.
Yeah.
I was just in a roundtable with heads of HR recently, and we're talking about what are some of the biggest challenges and biggest issues that you're tackling right now. Number one was AI, but number two was the cost of benefits and the cost of healthcare and how it's eroded their budgets. And it's taking away, my healthcare costs went up 15%. So now I have to table that employee development program or that leadership program that I wanted to do because we've lost a little bit because we have to manage our costs. So it's becoming a real challenge for my peers in the space in the CHRO side, but I'm seeing the pressure for a lot of business leaders. And we're there to try to find ways that we can contain that cost and manage that for employers so that they can support their employees and do the things that they want to do, adopt AI, employee development, fun stuff.
Let's push on that a little bit because, again, the podcast is The Culture Works. As you mentioned, it's transactional. My insurance costs have doubled this year. It's hard to manage through that when you weren't expecting it. So insurance can be seen as transactional, as you say, but we all, the three of us here, know that culture is a differentiator. The reason that I'm with my insurance company that handles most of my things and my benefits insurance is that they care about me. They know me individually. They can find ways, let's try this or this. In a highly competitive environment, how does culture win?
Adrian, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly how we're winning because we are trying to find that human connection and that relationship. We joke, we almost want to become your friend, which you never think about that as an insurance broker. But the reality is the industry is consolidating. Historically, there have been a lot of family-owned and independent agencies that are being bought out by private equity. And with that comes the pressures to scale and drive efficiencies and maintain costs. The trade-off is that you don't get that personal connection and that personal service. And that's something for us because of the way we are structured as a family-owned business. That's our North Star. We really want to make sure that we're always maintaining that human connection. And that's core to our culture. We're doing right by our clients and doing right by our employees. And we think that's going to translate in terms of building a relationship, like you mentioned, Adrian, where you want to stay with that broker, where we can understand your problems and offer up solutions that might help you, whether it's contain costs, save money, or manage some pretty significant business risk. And that's when we think about the culture, our employees really do lead with empathy and they really do care about their clients. I know that sounds cliche, but in this day and age, we're doing things. We're going to pick up the phone and we're going to speak with you. And we're not going to put you through an AI chatbot for help or an endless phone tree. Because if you think about that, if you're calling us, you probably have a significant problem and you need help. And you're probably anxious, scared, angry. So we want to show up and have a friendly face and lead with empathy and help you through what can be a difficult time.
Chester knows, anxious, scared, angry. Those are my three go-tos. So you nailed me. Yeah.
So you mean your people aren't getting phone calls from your clients saying, hey, just want to let you know, love the service. Everything's going great.
We do some of those. That's probably the most fun part of my job, Chester, is we have a monthly town hall where we'll take client testimonials and we'll share it out.
Oh, that's great.
And that is the best. Any day I get an email that's forwarded my way from a client where, hey, so-and-so was really empathetic or they helped me tenaciously solve a problem. And that is the best, where we can share that in front of the entire company and say, so-and-so did a great job and here's what they did and here's the impact on the client. That's why we do what we do. And it's great to share that.
Culture really is so important, especially, when you're in the business you're in, which is the human business, right? So what's one cultural behavior that you would protect at all costs?
I think for us, integrity in the business that we're in is critical. Making sure we are who we say we are and we follow our commitments and honor that, really critical in this business. Something that we just can't negotiate on.
Excellent answer. Good answer. Like the family feud. No, it is. That's got to be the core of everything you have, right? If you don't do what you say you're going to do, you don't have much of a business left over, do you? So you're currently exploring all this AI stuff and how you use it with your business. And that can raise a lot of anxiety. People think that AI is going to replace their jobs and so on. As you look at HR tech and AI solutions, every executive is hearing about it, right? But few know how to implement it very well. What problems are you hoping that AI will solve for you? And where are you being cautious?
It's a great question. From an operational perspective, we're finding that there are a lot of things, particularly in our industry, that's very time and labor intensive. And we're exploring AI, and we're in a partnership with a company right now that can help take a lot of, I'll call the pain points away from our associates and our account managers and allow them to focus on the client service and the more fun things, right? Building that human connection. So there's a real positive for us as a business in terms of how we operate, because we can free up some of that time and allow them to do what I consider the higher value, the higher touch types of interactions. Like anything, there's a change and we have to address that and have to be honest. I think there's that scary perception of, hey, it's going to take my job. And I don't necessarily see that. I see it as a tool that will help us be more effective and more efficient in our jobs. I think as an HR practitioner, we need to be front and center with that journey to support our leaders and our employees through that, understand their concerns and their anxieties and address that and put them in a position to learn to adopt these tools effectively. I was just in a conversation with our operations leader, and it was just interesting to talk about culture. We were talking about some of the AI implementation that we're doing with this program here. And she said, I'm so excited because I can take some of the not fun stuff and I don't have to deal with that. And I can actually lean into the fun things like coaching my team. And so I actually have trained the chatbot to help me with performance reviews so I can deliver them more effectively and be a better leader. Use that to do some role playing. And that's a great use. Think about that. It's in line with her core values and how she can be more empathetic as a leader to her team. And it's a really good news story that AI doesn't have to be this scary thing and it can be a positive.
Yeah. Question for you, Chris. So how do you use AI personally? I know you've got it for business and stuff. Obviously, this is important to you. So I'm guessing you're playing with various AI platforms and so on. How are you using it?
I'm using it's funny, I do use it for role play, believe it or not. So I'll have a couple of situations, especially if I know it's going to be a high touch or a difficult conversation, just to make sure that I'm showing up in my best. I've done that for a few times. I'm using it for some of our core HR processes. We're exploring something about an AI chatbot that can help answer some really simple questions about our handbook, because employee handbooks can be dense and long and legal. Yeah. So some of the things like that. We're also using it on a talent acquisition side. That's something where I've seen it's been a bit of a challenge right now in the talent marketplace in particular, because so many applicants are using AI to polish up their resumes and their cover letters. And I'm hiring a HR director. We had 700 applicants in
oh my gosh,
a few days, which is incredible. Now, I'd like to think that's because we're a great company and I'm an exciting leader to work for. The reality is that they probably are using AI agents to apply to pretty much everything and anything and customize their resume. The downside of that is that there are probably, of that 700 applicant pool, there are probably some really fantastic candidates that I was just never able to get to because of the volume and the noise that's in the system. When I talk to other colleagues in the recruiters and others in that space, it's becoming a real challenge. So something that I'm trying to navigate, and I know others are too, how do you find those genuine humans and make those right connections in the world full of noise?
Wow. Hard for hirers and the hirees right now. Okay, so let's go to a section we call the Culture Challenge, Chris. This is where we're going to chat maybe a mini coaching lab for folks. I just looked through the scenarios. I think we've covered a lot, but what we haven't done maybe is this. And you talked about empathy, but most companies, they want high standards. But a lot of people right now, we saw recent stats, anywhere from 70, 90% of people say they are somewhat to a lot burned out. It's a tough time. As you've talked about, AI is coming in disrupting. We've got economic challenges, political uncertainty. We've got so many things going on. People are on 24/7. They never get to slow down. So what do you say if you're coaching a leader on your team who wants high standards, but maybe they're afraid of burning their people out? Where's the line? How do we help?
It's a great question. You're right. It just the stakes seem to get higher and harder every year as we go along. And the good news is that AI in some cases can help take some of the burden off. On the flip side, the other thing is in having this conversation too, there might be even more expectations because of all the things that AI can help with. We're going to expect our leaders to do even more with those tools, right? So I think we need to think about what are the guardrails and how do we make sure that we're showing up for our leaders and our employees and creating that space to take a break, to recharge, and to make sure that they have the wellness that they need to be their best every day. I would love to say that I have the magic answer, but I think some of it has been being deliberate about taking time out. And we put some things on the calendar where we've had no meeting days or just time where we're going to say, as a company, we want you to block this out for your personal development, work on some learning, make sure that you have some headspace, and just making sure that you're creating that space, whatever you need for your personal development or just to zone out, to focus, whatever that needs, and being deliberate, because we can't always push the pedal down. And as you know, that the burnout is real. I see it in an HR role. I see it amongst my peers in the HR space, but in particular, coming out of COVID, it just hasn't let up. And I think we have to be mindful of taking those moments and in some cases, creating them as well.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. We're in the home stretch here, Chris. This is rapid fire. Okay. So just the quick answers. First thing that pops into your head. One leadership trait you refuse to compromise on.
I think you go back to integrity. To me, that's core to who I am and to how we have to operate, regardless of the industry.
Excellent. AI will most transform blank in the next 5 years.
I think it's going to transform HR in ways that we haven't fully understood yet. Performance expectations, how do we evaluate talent, expectations of jobs, and how we hire. And I think I'm excited because I think HR has a front row seat for all of this. And I think that we're going to be, everyone thinks of technology as the critical function that's going to be driving this. I think HR is going to be there front and center.
Yeah. That marrying it with the human side that you talk about. Okay. This is where we dig deep. Okay, Chris.
Right.
It's the hardest leadership lesson you ever learned.
Sometimes putting off the tough decisions or putting off the tough feedback and not sharing that right away is not always the best thing. And sometimes you just have to get in the moment and lead into those tough conversations and don't wait.
Yeah, don't hesitate. Yeah. Last one. Finish this sentence. The future of leadership is...
I think what's old is new. I really do. It's so much focus on AI and what it can bring, but I think the human aspect of leadership will not go away. And if anything, it's going to be even more important.
That's your answer. I love the phrase, if you want a great new idea, read an old book.
Yeah, I like it.
That's awesome. Thanks, Chris. This has been just such a thoughtful conversation on raising the bar, leading through change. If people want to connect with you, where would you point them?
They can find me on LinkedIn at Chris Mary, and always welcome to have a conversation. I love chatting with folks about leadership, culture. It's a fun thing. So please reach out.
Excellent. And that's Chris Mary, M-A-R-I. And yeah, thanks, Chris. This has been awesome. Is there anything we haven't covered that you think, this is the one last thing I need to share with our listeners today?
No, for me, again, I know I'm preaching to the choir with you all, but to me, I think culture really is your business and it drives value. And it's not just a nice to have or something that's a slogan on a letterhead or employee poster. And this is our business. It's how we operate. And this is what has helped us double in size, grow, and will continue to grow. And I see the power of it. And that's why I love to have conversations with leaders like yourself, because I believe firmly in it.
Excellent. Amen to that, Adrian.
Hallelujah.
Thanks for joining us on the Culture Work podcast. Chris, you've really given us some real gems today. And for those of you that are listening in, Adrian, I always like to do a little recap here at the end as to what it was we learned. So we'll let you go, Chris. But again, thanks for finding the time. Thanks for braving the storm and meeting us in your basement. You're a champ, and we appreciate it.
Chester, that was just amazing. Meeting Chris. We had a nice chat afterwards, finding out he's a Philadelphia Flyers fan. Chester's actually a New Jersey Devils fan, despite the fact that Chester actually believes that every other New Jersey Devil fan he's ever met is not very smart. You mentioned that before.
My biggest conflict with the Flyers is that they're orange. I should be cheering for them instead of the black and red on the Devils. But yeah, it's so funny because we did talk hockey, obviously the gold medal game and all that kind of stuff. But there's something about the hockey culture. You know, he was so thrilled to get his daughter to the first game, and he's got great seats there on the red line and on. You know, there is that community sense, and I really got that with him, with ECVM, this family-owned company that says, look, It's about that human connection. It's about creating memories. It's about managing risks. It's, you're a small, mid-sized company. You've got stuff coming up. It might be the difference of whether you stay in business or not.
Yeah.
And we want to be not just your insurance. He says, I know it sounds goofy,
Yeah.
but we want to be your friend. I love that.
And isn't it interesting? It's so much like the other CEOs are bringing us in, because now and then we'll get brought in by somebody who, hey, I really believe in the stuff you do. My CEO doesn't.
Right.
So come and try and convince them. And look, if you don't believe in culture as a competitive advantage like Chris does, I just wrote down, hey, look, this puts us in the best position to succeed. He talked about living our core values is better than technical expertise. He talked about all these amazing things that we believe in. And yet you can't convince somebody who doesn't get it unless they see this in action. Really powerful from our perspective to see a leader like this who gets it, who's going to be successful for years and years to come.
Yeah. He gets it. I love that when we say that. Hey, that guy gets it. And the other thing, too, about technology is 700 applications. You got to be kidding. I mean, that's an avalanche of what? And his perspective where he said, there's 3 or 4 really good people in there. How do I find them? And AI really helps me weed through all of that. The thing that really impressed me was giving his employees a voice. Whether it was the one-on-ones, it was surveys, it was town halls and stuff, and listening and leading with empathy. Talk to him. He said, you have a stake in our future. How empowering is that? We want
I love that.
because you have a stake in our future, and we want to know what that is, and we want to know how to leverage that.
Well, when you and I go into an organization, we know there are these levers we can pull to increase engagement, right? Help people understand the future vision, give them more recognition for it's really simple things. The third is give them a voice, especially in things that affect their jobs. It's like a no-brainer. And yet so few companies do this well. And so I think, what he's putting in place is nothing revolutionary, but it's revolutionary in the way that it's put into place. The people actually know that my leader cares about me. I have a voice. I feel safer here. And just what he talked about with burnout, I thought was really interesting too, is use the tools, use AI to prevent burnout. Don't just make expectations higher and higher.
Yeah. And the other thing I thought was really interesting is that core value of integrity. He came back to it a couple of times. So that's the core of everything we do. We do what we say we're going to do. We keep our promises. And then his hardest leadership lesson, don't put off the hard conversation, because we all do.
Oh, boy, don't we hear that? People wait, unfortunately, way too long, maybe to get rid of somebody who doesn't fit the culture, who's toxic. We've done that, you and I. So,
and the idea that it just courage, the delay never helps, and putting it up. And we're human, right? Very few people get up in the morning and say, I hope there's a lot of conflict today, because I live for conflict. I was born fighting, it's, but at any rate, I just thought his approach to people and the business and keeping perspective, like you say, it was just so refreshing.
And that's what's going to differentiate the great organizations in the future. We're all worrying about how AI will affect things, increased competition that's coming at us from places we've never seen. And Chris is right. It's going to be the human connection, people that will differentiate your business in the future, not only with innovation, but also with how they treat your clients, et cetera. So I think, he's put an exclamation point on all of our work over the years with our book, All In, with our book, The Best Team Wins, all the work we've done. You mentioned anxiety at work, leading with gratitude. Everything comes to this point where it's people that are going to differentiate your business.
And when the culture works, everything else works a little better. That's why we call it the Culture Works Podcast. Oh, there you go. We just connected the dots for you right there.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, appreciate all of you that gave us your time. Hopefully there are 1 or 2 really good nuggets that you pulled away from that. Chris Murray, Mari on LinkedIn. Boy, he does. He gets it. I'm sure he's publishing some great stuff there. Follow us on LinkedIn. We sure appreciate your time. And if you like the podcast, recommend it to a friend or family. Give us a little thumbs up and a little recommendation. That's always a little positive reinforcement, goes a long way. So from me and Adrian, have a great week. When the culture works, everything works. Cheers.